Crystal, would you like to explore the Oregon coast with me?
With you? Yes. Visually, right? Intellectually or virtually. We're doing it virtually.
Well, since I already went and sadly forgot to invite you, I'll have to just take you through the story.
Forgot to invite. I was literally right there too. Be like,
you were right there.
I didn't invite you. Oh man, I didn't. Okay.
My bad. Today, we take a mini vacation to Oregon wine country, the coast, Crater Lake National Park, and Bend, the town of Bend. On a whirlwind 4-day extravaganza, you'll hear about my good, bad, and ugly on today's show. And there's lots of good, a little bad, and really no ugly to speak of. So that's coming up today, Crystal.
Lucky you. And then let's be real. Most travel gear out there is just plain awful. That's why we share our gear of the day at the end of each episode. So these are pieces we've actually used ourselves, or they actually come recommended from fellow adventurers like yourselves, not some random thing you saw in a sketchy Facebook ad. So if you want tried and true gear that saves you money, makes your trip smooth, or I like to make up words on the fly, and helps you adventure smarter, check out our Amazon page. Go to stackingadventures.com/gear of the day or GOTD, and then you'll be supporting the show and you'll be setting yourself up with gear that's crystal delicious. Get it? Crystal and Joe. Crystal delicious. Yeah.
Our friend Dividend Gypsy, Kevin, said we should make this show title, My Thoughts on the Oregon Trail Without Diphtheria. Or dysentery. Isn't it dysentery on the Oregon Trail? Do you even know what we're referring to, Crystal?
Toilet paper. The need of toilet paper?
There was a video game called the Oregon Trail you could play way back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Thank goodness, Kevin, we had none of that. But instead, guess what we're going to do? The magic words, Crystal?
Let's get this show on the road.
Ready for adventure? From vacation to staycation, and from the mountains to the beach. This is the Stacking Adventures podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Stacking Adventures podcast. This is where we head around the world with our adventure community. Every adventure has a story, and we hear them on every episode. And today, pinch yourself because you get to hear mine.
Pinch yourself. I'm looking forward to this just because, first of all, people say Oregon. Never make that mistake. And we're not going to do this today. It's Oregon. So say it smooth, say it nice. And I want to know more about Oregon. So where did you start?
I started with you. I had a tearful goodbye from Crystal in Portland. We had just a horrible cry, and then I went off into the wilderness by myself. Actually, we had a fantastic dinner, you and I and a few friends.
Yeah.
At a great place. If people haven't been to downtown Portland, these restaurants, Crystal, are so good.
Yeah, I ate a lot of good food. We need a Portland episode now just for the food alone. And we all piled into your car. So was that your car or was that a rental?
That was a rental car that we had.
Okay.
Because that evening, and sadly, Cheryl and I had to leave early, but you stayed. I think you guys stayed and closed the place down.
Hours. We did. We're like, phew, I'm glad they're gone. Let's let our hair down.
It was funny. Our friend Paula Paula Pant from Afford Anything said, you guys have to go, but we don't have to go.
Right, she sure
and I
did.
could tell the party was about to start.
Cheers.
But we had to pick up friends the reason we had that big car is because we had to pick up friends from the airport. We all had luggage and we were going to spend the next 4 days. So that evening, after I said goodbye to you, we drove about 45 minutes south of where you are to wine country, and it's called the Willamette Valley. The Willamette Valley is an old wine-producing region from the early 1900s. And what's cool, Crystal, about the Willamette Valley is these are world-class Pinot Noirs, which are people that don't know. Pinot Noir is a red wine with kind of a cherry taste to it, usually, not always, but often does. And it's really beautiful wine country. There's hundreds of wineries to choose from. And so we piled in the car and we made our way to this bed and breakfast, not an Airbnb, but an actual bed and breakfast. This place was great. It was called La Bastide. It's in the little town of Dundee. Wine country, Willamette Valley goes a long way north to south. And so we were up in the northern part of it. But La Bastide was a French themed place. Every room was a different part of France. So Cheryl and I stayed in Provence. Our friends stayed in Bordeaux, the Bordeaux room. And you filled out a little thing on your phone about what you wanted for breakfast. And you could either eat breakfast outside, you could have it in your room, or you could have it in their little living room area. And they were always playing great music. It was really cool.
What were the rooms like? Were they all different, or like what
they were? Yeah. They all had that French pastel look, ornate look, like the French countryside. The rooms were medium sized, big king beds in every room, small, very small bathrooms, but generally a lot of room. Yeah, generally a lot of room to sit. And it was on a dead end street. So the next morning, Cheryl and I had to go run because I'm in the middle of marathon training. So we had to run 3 miles. It's a bear running with all these hills. It's a hilly valley. And oh my God, I thought I was going to die. But besides that,
run into a bear.
I did not. But gorgeous countryside in the Willamette Valley, a place I'd recommend people go as much for the beauty of just wine country as for the wines.
What were the options for the breakfast? Which ones did you and your friends pick? Did you all like divide and conquer, or you did the same?
No, it's cool. You could do anything you wanted, from just basic fruit or juices, or a little chopped up fruit plate, or yogurt. The first day, because I was more than 1,000 miles from home, which I don't know if our adventurers know this. If you're more than 1,000 miles from home, everything is fat-free, gluten-free. It's great. Yeah. So I had the French toast, which was incredible. But that morning we set out early because we had 3 reservations at 3 different wineries for tastings. Now, these tastings, we wanted to go to really good wineries. So here's where I started, Crystal. I went to the experts. I went to Wine Spectator magazine, and they had a piece, their top 10 wineries in the Willamette Valley. And we chose them as a group. And so we chose 3 really good ones. But going to really good ones means that at every winery, unless you signed up for either their club, which would cost you a bunch of money and you get wines a couple times a year from them, or you bought a few bottles of wine, on average, we paid $40 per person for the wine tasting. At some of them, we had to buy food separately. At a couple, we bought food separately. But it's funny, I'm used to actually less expensive than that. So I did have a little bit of sticker shock. Paying after those and the tip, you're well over $100 for just a wine tasting. And by the way, a wine tasting at 11 a.m.
Do it. On vacation, remember? The calories don't count. So then what made you pick each winery? What was the first one? Why?
Yeah, for people hanging out with us live, let's show some of them on screen.
Yeah, I want to hear what they looked like.
Because I do have some photos for you. So this first winery, this is Cheryl standing in front of it. You can see it's a simple farmhouse, and I'll describe it for all of our audio listeners. But this is the David Hill Winery, and they had these beautiful gardens that you can see, and it was a very blue sky. And you just walked inside this old converted farmhouse, and they had tasting areas inside. You could also sign up for tasting areas back behind the house, which is what we did. We went outside. Now, this time of year, the yellow jackets are out, and they're a little bit voracious. So they warned us at a time that the yellow jackets might be really bad. They were okay. We actually stayed outside the whole time. And the woman that served us wine was great. The help was great. There were only a few other families there because, like I said, it was 11 a.m. These were the best wines we had all day. If you really want really good Oregon wines in a great setting, go to David Hill Winery. Here's a fun fact about this winery. David Hill, my friend Malcolm asked, so is David still around? Did David pass away? And the woman said, well, that's a funny story that hardly anybody knows unless they come here. David Hill is not a person.
Oh.
David Hill, Crystal, is the name of the hill that the winery's on. It's actually called David Hill. And so there's the David Hill farm down the street, the David Hill Winery here. So don't make the mistake that we made of asking, hey, can we see David? You're looking at David. It's that hill behind the house.
They should have told you that he lives in the basement of the Alamo.
That's where he is. You just got to go down there and see him. Yeah, he moved away a while ago. So that was our first winery. We went from there we took country roads. There's no straight way to get from point A to point B in the Willamette Valley for the most part. Highway 101 runs down the center of it, but unless you're right on 101, which none of these wineries were, you get this wonderful back and forth and these beautiful hills in the countryside and all the different wineries. We ended up in some small town because we had time between the wineries and they were actually having a festival. Oh. And so we walked around their wine festival. People could try out wine. We weren't going to try out wines because I would have been super hammered. I already had 2 wineries to go, so didn't do that. But we went to this little festival in a little town, and then we ended up, oh, you know what? I actually have a video of the inside of the David Hill house before we move on. So this is just, and you can see how pretty it is in here. It's a basic farmhouse look. Yeah. And lots of places for people to sit and a nice wide counter. And then we'll go look outside to the picnic tables in the back where we sat. And you can see Crystal, the winery going up the hill.
The vines. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some tables and chairs outside. Patio
just
furniture.
Fantastic place to be.
So that's where, that's not where. I was going to say, was it similar to this at where you stayed, like the outdoor area to have to eat? Did they have an outside or it was like a patio?
They did. We sat out on that patio that you could see out with the umbrellas, and they shifted the umbrellas because the sun was coming up. And just behind the house, you could see all of the barrels going into the different storage facilities. Yeah, if you want a really good winery, and there's lots of bad wine in the Willamette Valley. I've been to a few really bad wineries in the Willamette Valley just because there's so many of them and you don't know what to pick. So you just pull into one. Starting off with Wine Spectator, if you want a really good one, David Hill was a great first one to go to.
Were you moved to buy any of their wines?
I did. I bought a rosé, and our friend Deirdre bought a Pinot Gris. I'm thinking I still might join their club.
Ooh.
Because for a little while at least, because I think it'll be fun to have some of their wines come a couple times a year for a little while before I move on. That's always a good time for me, is when I really like a place, I join the club. I belong to one wine club right now, and it's a Seattle-based winery called Gordon, and they make Chardonnays, and I don't drink many Chardonnays, but when I do, I want a really good one. And Gordon has really great. In fact, my friends now get excited whenever my Gorman shipment's up, and we generally have a little get together at our house to celebrate my next shipment of Gorman wine. So we go through a lot of them all at once.
So you like West Coast wines, the local.
I just got lucky that I've been there, and I like that too. I've been to the Gorman Winery. I've been to David Hill. The next winery we went to was known for their sparklings, and it was called Domaine Willamette. And this one, you can actually buy their stock. They're a public company. What? And this was the biggest operation that we went to. And they had a beautiful lodge that looks like a ski resort. And for people hanging out with us on YouTube, I'll play it. And this place was just, you can see how gorgeous it is inside, Crystal. This is a really wide open architecture, lots of
lamps.
Cool inside seating, very modern inside seating, outside seating, and you're on a hill overlooking all of the vineyards. Beautiful place to sit. Lots of people hanging out. Worst wines we had with a bullet. By far the worst wines we had.
But yeah, and the beautiful presentation.
I know. And the woman who served us was phoning it in. You could tell they were just a huge operation. So if you want a great place to sit, go to Domaine Willamette. If you want good wines, I wouldn't go there. I would not go near that one.
Or maybe that's a good place to sandwich in between. So you go there. Did you guys eat anything at that place?
We did. We ordered a really good fondue dip. Mm-hmm. The food was really good. Cheryl and I had red wines. We did not have the sparkling. Our friends Malcolm and Deirdre had the sparklings. They didn't like the sparklings much at all.
Oh.
The red wines, get this, we didn't like them by themselves, but you ready for this? Uh-huh. For an extra fee, they paired them with chocolate.
Oh, that
and
does
you know
make a
what?
difference.
Crystal, the chocolate made the wine go down.
Yeah. Oh, down?
What I meant was made it go down the hatch.
Darn.
It was so good. The chocolate was so good with the wine. Yeah. We'd taste the wine by itself. We go, and then we'd have it with the chocolate. We go, oh my God, that's good.
Years ago, I remember going to a tasting and they have you do all these different things. It's like, now have it with your mouth open and have it with your mouth closed because that's two totally different tastes. And these are things you would totally never think of because we were all like, oh,
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Or have it with an olive or have it with a grape and it'll taste horrible with one and phenomenal with the other.
True.
Yeah, really good. A friend of ours, Vincent, owned a wine store in Texarkana when we first moved here, and he gave wine classes. And when he did the classes, he said that having wines paired right with food really made a difference. Yeah. He's like, this idea of drink what you like, he said, don't do that because you can end up really hating wines that are good wines.
Yeah,
if you do it that way.
Yeah, my favorite local restaurant, they have local like quarterly wine and food pairings. Always really delicious.
The last place we went, our friend Carrie's hanging out with us. I'm thinking this is the Carrie that went running with us. She came to the Stacking Benjamins meetup, and then I got to run with Carrie, who is in Portland, and we had a blast. I had a super blast. She and Jen Smith and our friend Tim from Tim and Gwen, the fiery millennials. We had a great time running in Portland. The last one we went to was maybe, it's funny, while David Hill was the best wines, Carrie says she's still sore from that. The last winery had really good wines too, but what I liked more than that was that it was would have been my favorite place to hang out. So while David Hill had the best wines, the place I would go to hang out over and over again was called Remy Wines. And I'll play a video of this. You can see how cool and relaxed this place is. Look there's one of those distances to all these different places, and you can see it's a cool old farmhouse. Remy is not only the mayor of the town near it. She not only is the mayor of the town near it, she also is very proud to be one of the top gay winemakers in the country. And it was super going into this winery and just seeing all of the different labels on the wines and tasting the different wines and some of the fundraising efforts she's done for LGBTQ groups. But best of all, in front of this beautiful farmhouse, you could sit out on these picnic tables and the breeze is just blowing and they have really fun wines. And I don't know, it was my favorite place that I would go back to over and over again.
That looks fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Remy Wines. So what kind of time did you leave in between for each winery? Like you did 3, why 3? And then what time did you give? Like how far were they or space in between?
We didn't think we could handle more than 3. You're trying 5 different wines at each one. So beyond that, we thought we'd be just too drunk to enjoy the wines. Now, David Hill was across the valley, was quite far away. So we went there first because it was so far away. Remy and Domaine were pretty close to each other. So I believe we had tastings at 11, 2, and 4. Okay. We ended up 11. Was great. And then we went to that festival. We got to Domaine just before 2:00. We got to Remy by 3 and we just asked them if we could come early. And it was so relaxed and so fun. They're like, yeah, stay here all day. It was super fun. And you can see, by the way, Remy Wines Farmhouse Tasting Room, just all of their labels. I'm a sucker for packaging. The packaging on the Remy wines was my favorite. I bought a wine at Remy as well to bring home. So if you were closer, if you were in Texarkana, we could share it, Crystal. But so you got to come here.
Okay. On my way. OMW.
We went to a place for dinner called the Joel Palmer House. My friends, I told them that this was an upscale place in wine country. It gets all kinds of rave reviews. Everybody that I talked to about it ahead of time were like, oh, you're going to love it as long as you love mushrooms. Oh. Every single thing that you had mushrooms in it. And the other thing Cheryl didn't know, Cheryl's throwing on a pair of jeans and she goes, this place is really relaxed, right? Like hamburgers. And I went, oh God, no. Because Crystal, this is like a 5-star restaurant with a tasting menu. And so we walk in and we spent a lot of money. If you want an upscale meal, the Joel Palmer House, this was our first course which has a little mushroom
Frou-frou. It looks very
moussey
frou-frou.
kind of thing with some roe on top. And this was delicious. It was made to resemble like an ice cream cone.
Yeah, it's like a little paper cone.
Yeah. And then our dessert on the other end, check this out.
I'm so hungry.
You eat with a little spoon that looks like a spade.
A shovel.
With a little, shovel. And then you've got this little greenery, which you could eat, some dirt that you could eat, and a little white mushroom that you could eat that looks really good. I thought
that was like a custard. That is a mushroom.
It is a mushroom. And this dish was very cool.
Frou-frou.
The whole thing was cool, but it was $4 buckets of money, the Joel Palmer house. So would I go back? 100% I go back, but it's got to be a super special occasion to go back. And the Joel Palmer house was one of the things that afterwards we talked about. Top things we did was one of the top things that we did.
Carrie says it's on her bucket list.
Carrie, it should be. It's a great place to go. And by the way, the staff there, you know how Crystal at a nice restaurant, it's not just about the food, it's about the staff. The sommelier was a 24-year-old guy who's been working his way up the sommelier chain. And he came back over and over again, and he immediately got our sense of humor, and he laughed with us. Our waiter was fantastic. He laughed with us. The people at the next table we kept chatting with, this couple, they were celebrating their anniversary. They came back every year. They had a farm. These guys had a farm where they raised alpacas and llamas.
Wow.
And they're retired school teachers, and we laughed with the people at the table next to us. So just a great experience. So
who'd have thunk? I've been all dreaming about retiring somewhere in another country on a winery, but I could do that here. Who'd have thunk? Maybe.
So that was day one. You want to hear day two? Day two, we got in the car and we're off to the Oregon coast.
So what was it like? Because what I picture, and I'm probably sure a lot of other people picture, that it's foggy, it's rainy, it's dreary, there's just tall brush, everything. What was your experience like in 3D?
It was funny talking to some fans of the show that we had dinner with the last night. They invited us. We were back in Portland. Their family owns an Italian restaurant. Catherine and Nathan, their family. In fact, we met Nathan's dad who owns the restaurant, and Nathan ordered food for us and the wines, and we didn't order a thing. It was also just another amazing experience. But Catherine said she's on the Oregon coast where it's rainy all the time and overcast. So it's supposedly like that. It wasn't like that when we were there. When we went down the coast, it was a few puffy clouds, and I'm showing people hanging out with us. One of the whales, this is in the town of Defoe, where they have a whale watching station where you could see the whales. And what was neat, Crystal, and this was one of our first stops along the coast, was you could see just out beyond the surf line, every once in a while, you'd see little puffs where there were at least 3 whales out there, and you sat and watched them. It was pretty neat to watch the humpback whales.
Speaking of watch, it was a whale sculpture, not a whale.
Yes.
For the people.
For the people, not people just listening, it was a whale sculpture. Sadly, we only saw a little bit of the tail just a couple times. Usually it was just a little puff. We could watch it breathe. The coast was really rocky, but it was so beautiful. These rocks all over the place, and tide pools. In some places, there were surfers. So we'd watch people surf up and down the coast, and it was a marvelous day to go down the coast, but very rocky, and lots of opportunities to see wave splashing, lighthouses. One of the lighthouses that we saw, this is a picture of the lighthouse. This lighthouse was featured in the horror movie, The Ring. Remember The Ring?
Ooh, yeah.
Did you see that?
I don't remember it.
Where the phone rings. You get afraid of when the phone rings, and you always saw this lighthouse, but this was that particular lighthouse. And just the majestic rocks, all the way down the coast. We unfortunately didn't do the part of the coast that a lot of people do, from Tillamook, which is famous for the cheeses, up to Cannon Beach, which of course Cannon Beach is famous because the Goonies was in Cannon Beach. That's where that old movie was filmed. But those iconic areas we didn't get to because we were already south of Portland. We started in Newport and then went south to Coos Bay. So at the bottom of Oregon, but still, if these pictures at one, we made it up to the highest point on the entire coastline, and you could see way, way down below the road and all the people way below you. Sadly, right below this highest point is a place called Thor's, I think it's called, which is this spot where the waves are really violent and you can see the ocean just sucking in and out. And I heard from Mom's neighbor, Doug, who's on Stacking Benjamins with us, that somebody died there yesterday. Oh. And we were just overlooking
Literally
it.
just there.
But yeah, one of my favorite spots going down the coastline was this Darlingtonia State Park. And it's funny because this is the kind of thing, Crystal, where when you do a lot of research, you find these quirky ass places. And Darlingtonia State Park is known because it is one of the few groves in the world that has carnivorous plants, has plants that eat things other than nutrients from the ground. And so this is the grove of the carnivorous plants that they affectionate. It has a longer name, but they call them the tiger lilies because they're striped and they have a hooded head that make them look a little bit like a tiger. And there were tons and tons of them. And we're up on a boardwalk because you didn't want to be down with the carnivorous plants. And as you zoom in on them, you can see they're this hooded plant. So what happens is insects get turned on by this plant because they secrete this juice that is like a honey kind of thing that mosquitoes and other insects go, hey, and they go up underneath the hood. And when they eat the honey thing, it's actually poison. And then they drop inside the plant and the plant uses it for food.
Like a Venus flytrap. I guess that's the only other one I know of.
So on the way back that we made our way to Crater Lake, the bad news about this trip was this day, and I warned everybody, I love Sun Tzu. The best battle, if you're traveling with other people, is the one you never fight, right?
Yeah, of course. So
I warned them ahead of time. I said, we can go see the coast, but if we do, it's going to be 8 hours in the car on top of all the places we stop. Like just holy cow, just incredible places to stop. And we started to make our way back off the coast. And when we went off the coast, we found this wonderful place where there was an elk viewing area. And so we got to see just this whole herd of elk just kind of hanging out.
So you're just driving along the coast and then stopping here and there and do like a mile or two hike?
No, we actually, it's funny. My friend Malcolm said we were Griswolding it. If you ever watched Vacation, when they get to, when they get to the Grand Canyon, they just look right, look center, look left, and they're like, let's get back in the car. That's what we did. This place with the elk, we maybe spent 10 minutes watching the elk, funny. And then we moved on.
To cover? Okay.
Yeah. Fantastic. Huge rack on that elk. Look at him.
Yeah, they look elegant.
Yeah, it was fun sitting and watching them. So that was day 2. We made our way all the way over to Klamath Falls. By the way, Carrie hanging out with us, Carrie and others told me about this great restaurant called McMenamin. And McMenamin's is a chain, but they're known for gutting these old buildings. And Carrie was telling me about some of the original buildings that they did while we were running. And so we had the chance to go to a McMenamin's when we were on our way to Crater Lake. And this one, they gutted an old railway station. And if you're in Oregon, we saw another one, by the way, when we were in Bend, where they took an old schoolhouse and they gutted it. But they make it really cool inside with all kinds of historical stuff. They really keep the feel of the place. So McMenamin's isn't going to McDonald's or Applebee's, where these places, they kept these iconic places and made them really neat with microbrew and good pub food inside. So we got to stop at one, Carrie, and thanks for the recommendation because it was a nice pit stop on the way over to Klamath Falls.
And she was telling you while you were running, I cannot talk and run at the same time.
We would run. We take turns too. We had Jen Smith from Frugal Friends with us. Tim was with us. And so we took turns. It was super. And you could, we were chugging along, but yeah. Oh, all right. Cool. I think that's a good place to stop for our halfway point. What do you think?
Yeah, we're pausing. Yes, let's pause. Put a pin in the coast.
Deal.
So we can get down to the rest.
We're halfway through today's show, and I think that means it's time for our road trip pit stop. Pit stop, you're always dreaming about the second half of the adventure. How cool is it going to be to hear about Crater Lake National Park and to hear about Bend, Oregon?
Yes.
But it's also a hint at our gear of the day. You can see past gears of the day at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day. We've tried all of these, or our guests have, all the different gear of the day. So you know, that these have been tested. Crystal, what's our hint at today's gear of the day?
Okay, this hint, see, it's so hard coming up with hints. This one kind of combines one of my love languages with travel, but it's something you would take with you when you, especially like when you're flying, especially for short flights, and you want to stay on track. I think I've said stay on track for so many clues, but it's a really neat way to be in control of your fitness and stuff.
What?
And fitness and nutrition, it keeps you in control.
You take a lot of fitness stuff with you when you travel, don't you?
It's not fitness. I say added and nutrition. Okay. Fitness and nutrition. So it helps.
Fitness and nutrition.
Or we'll say nutrition too, especially on flights. That's my issue, the flights.
Okay. I have a guess, but you'll hear it right after the break. So fitness and nutrition when you're on a flight.
Yeah.
I think that, so this is obviously a food, and I think it's maybe one of my favorites is a Kind bar.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking it's a Kind bar, and that, sounds like it's not a Kind bar, but
I'm not going to tell you. Yeah, I guess you'll find out at the end of the show. Hang on till the end.
Someday I'll get it. That's a nice snack.
Yeah, another thing, and speaking of snacks, Audrey, too, is one of the original carnivorous plants from Little Shop of Horrors, remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And you went to the dentist today. See, all those things came full circle for this moment.
It was so campy, so fun. And we were only there, Crystal, for 15 minutes, too, looking at them. And when we were talking again. So it's funny because on one hand, we had the Joel Palmer House, which cost a ton of money for that dinner. On the other hand, we had a trip to the Darlingtonia State Park to see the carnivorous plants, which cost us nothing. It just more proof that it doesn't have to be expensive.
That is true. All right. So we're down the coast, and then we
made our way to Crater Lake National Park. And Crater Lake National Park, and I pulled up some facts about Crater Lake to share with everybody.
You stayed in the bed and breakfast overnight, hit the wineries, you go back to the bed and breakfast to sleep, and then you hit the second night. Day. Got it.
And then we hit the coast. And now this time 8 hours in the car, and then we stayed about an hour outside of Crater Lake. And by the way, unless you stay right on the rim, which you can stay at you got to book really early, like a year early, but you can stay at the Rim Lodge, which is a beautiful lodge right on the rim of Crater Lake. But if you don't stay there, everything's about an hour away. Once you get inside the park itself, there's about 35 minutes to reach the rim of the lake. And there's nothing around Crater Lake. So we stayed north of Klamath Falls and in an Airbnb, which is on just off of Upper Klamath Lake, this huge lake north of Klamath Falls. And it was wonderful. And if anybody wants the name of this Airbnb we stayed at, if you're going to Crater Lake, I'd highly recommend it. Our hosts were really good. The house was really beautiful. It was on this lake, and we saw so many migrating birds. We saw pelicans migrating, which was great. And at night, it was such a dark sky because we were far enough from the town that, Crystal, the sky was just littered with stars. You could see the Milky Way above you. There were so many stars. Was heaven. But Crater Lake, deepest lake in the United States. It's almost 2,000 feet deep. The lake was formed. It had used to be a volcano that blew its top. And then once it blew up, it was the caldera, right? The center of the volcano filled up with water because of the fact that it was so high that there was so much snow. So the lake is made up almost completely of snow melt, which is the reason why the water clarity is super exceptional. You can see, according to this, about 100 feet, and the record clarity 142 feet back in 1997. Wow. Somebody saw 142 feet. It's one of the snowiest places in the United States. In fact, Cheryl and I had tried to go. Crystal and I never tried to go there. Cheryl and I did with our son Nick. And Crystal, we couldn't get there because it was in the middle of winter. It was February, and it was snowing so hard we had to turn around. We didn't have the right car. The old man of the lake is this 30-foot long tree stump that's been floating vertically. It floats with its head just bobbing, and nobody can figure out why it floats vertically, but it's been doing that for over a century. And my friend Malcolm kept trying to see it, and he couldn't find it. That was tough. There's only 2 types of fish in the lake, and because of the fact that it was a caldera and there's no way in, it's just snowmelt that's the lake, the fish were introduced by humans. There's no natural way for fish to get in there. But Crater Lake National Park, I'm like, it's a lake. So what the heck's the big deal? First of all, there's a place called the Steel Lodge that's at the bottom when you first come into Crater Lake National Park. And I thought that was going to be where we'd need to go first. And we didn't go there. So we went back to it. It was horrible. It was packed with tourists. It was a little tiny store. There's nothing there really besides a store. Just go up to the rim, because at the Rim Lodge, there's another store up there. So if you want to buy stuff, you can buy it at the store. There really is very little museum or anything interpretive stuff. It really is mostly just the lake and the island. So there's this volcanic island in the middle of the lake, which is also has a caldera, which formed after the lake was formed. And there's another one, by the way, that's submerged that you can't see from the pictures. But you can see, for people hanging out with us on YouTube, how blue this lake is.
It is.
And there is the beautiful lodge. The lodge is just one of those old-timey looking lodges. We climbed the second highest mountain on the lake, which is Lake Garfield. And it just is so pretty getting these views of the lake on one side.
Wow. That blue it doesn't even look real.
No, it doesn't. It was just shockingly blue. And it's funny, even though it's just a lake, I can see why it's so many people's favorite park.
Yeah.
Because the views all over the place are fantastic. And Cheryl, of course, has to get a picture of every sign. And on our way out, we finally got us with the Crater Lake National Park sign. So that was that day.
So how many hours were you at Crater Lake proper?
We took off for there at about 9:00 in the morning, which if you're serious about hiking, you want to get there earlier than that. Cheryl had planned 4 hikes, and we ended up only doing 2. Okay. Because by the time we got to climbing Garfield Mountain was more strenuous than we thought it was going to be. And second, by the time we got done with those 2, and then we ate lunch, we ended up with not really a lot of daylight left. 3, 4 o'clock. Things started to get a little dark. Around 5:30, we started to leave, and we wanted to get back and find some food. And we wanted to try to get back to the beautiful Airbnb. And these are, what's funny? We packed a lunch.
Oh, good. Okay. What'd you pack?
Yep. We packed a lunch because you could eat
or something. Oh,
yes. Yeah. The day before you could eat at the lodge, but we heard the food wasn't very good. So we avoided that and just packed a lunch. And then we went into Klamath Falls for dinner. We tried to go to another place. And this was a TripAdvisor fail, by the way, Crystal. There was a place that looked like a beautiful lodge. It said it was in Klamath Falls. It was a lie. It was about 25 miles outside of Klamath Falls.
That's a lot.
And it was a horrible restaurant. We ended up leaving before they sat us, because the waitresses were nice, but they're like, we can't serve you for 25 minutes and there's no help. And the woman just seemed exasperated. So we're like, we're just going to drive into town. And then we went to a place that was called the Martini Bar, but served fantastic food right in Klamath Falls. But from the backyard of our Airbnb, I'm showing this to people hanging out with us. This is I don't know what you call it. It's a flock of pelicans that are on the lake by the Airbnb that are just hanging out, like taking a rest stop. Well,
I wouldn't even call this a flock. It's like a whole
it's huge.
boat looking.
It's at least a couple hundred pelicans together.
All in a line, a couple. Yeah. It
Yeah.
looks like
on this huge lake with the mountains behind it. Just a pretty setting for this Airbnb that we were in. The next day we were off to Bend, Oregon. I didn't take any pictures of Bend, but a friend of ours wanted to stop in Bend. And I also know that a lot of people say that Bend is a place that is like on the top cities to live in America. And
really?
Oh my goodness, was it beautiful, Crystal?
Yeah, why?
Bend, Oregon. I don't know. They had a really nifty downtown, musicians playing. We walked along. There's a park called Drake Park, which has the park on one side and these huge homes on the other side of the lake. And you just walk down the shoreline of the lake, looking at these beautiful houses. And it was fantastic. And I think now that I think about it, it wasn't a lake. It was more of a river that it was on. Somebody's going to write to us and they're going to go, Joe, it's a river run through the middle of town. I don't know, but Bend, Oregon was a nice respite. We then made our way we only had 45 minutes to spare before we had to get back in time for a reservation to meet my great listeners, Nathan and Catherine, at the restaurant that's been in Nathan's family forever. Back in Portland. So we had 45 minutes. We stopped at a state park called Smith Rock State Park north of Bend. And it was this huge rock just that comes out of nowhere. It's a beautiful rock formation. I wish we could have spent longer there. I wish we could have spent longer in Bend. I think a day at Crater Lake is probably enough. You could spend 2 days there. If you're a serious hiker, you could spend 2 days there. But I don't think you need to spend more than 2 days. You could also, when the boat launch is open, go down to the lake. A lot of people went down to the lake. The lake is freezing ass cold. There's no reason to go down there. So that parking lot was packed and there were a bunch of people going down to the lake. And everybody that we talked to who went down to the lake was disappointed. They're just like, yeah, you just stick your finger in it and then you walk this incredibly hard hill back up to the parking lot. No reason to go down there. So we stayed on the Towel Overlooks. But I think 2 days at Crater Lake is enough. And by the way, Crater Lake is closed next year. So if you go, make time for make it 2 years from now when they reopen. I think in late 2027, they're reopening.
Oh, that's also good to know.
Carrie says it is a river. It's the Deschutes River. And by the way, we went to the Deschutes Brewing Company for lunch, which was a fantastic lunch. I generally don't day drink. It sounds like I'm a big day drinker with wines and then the beer. But it was. Yeah. And Carrie says lots more sunshine in Central Oregon than the Valley, better opportunities for outdoor fun. Man, Carrie, you could tell there were so many outdoorsy people. There were lots of signs for cyclists. I think it's cyclists, but people doing all kinds of crazy outdoor stuff. Great outdoors town, Bend.
I was going to see if you like kayaked or any of the water sports, because you mentioned surfing. You saw someone surfing, but you weren't led to hop on there.
I did not. I didn't have a wetsuit, and the ocean looked cold as all get out.
Yeah, it did look chilly.
Looked very, very cold.
Late September.
So that was it. I think the goods were David Hill Winery was a fantastic winery. I thought Remy Winery was great. I thought the place we stayed, the bed and breakfast, La Bastide, was a great place to stay. I thought along the coast, that's a place, Crystal, that I would have liked to have had more time along the coast. I really did feel like we Griswolded it just to see the coast.
Yeah.
I could have stayed at a place along the coast.
Yeah, I was going to say, how would you plan that differently? You would have just stayed somewhere in the middle or even a third, maybe, or fourth. I don't know.
Yeah, made at least one more day where I got to spend an entire day along the coast instead of feeling like we were rushed to go from place to place just to get it in. Don't get me wrong, it was a nice road trip.
Yeah.
It was a great road trip, but I would have spaced that out. Crater Lake was fantastic. The Airbnb was great. Klamath Falls, places in town to eat looked really good. The place outside of town, I'll get people in the clubhouse the name of this because I forgot to write down the name, but this one restaurant
and the pictures. You're definitely going to share those pictures in the clubhouse too.
Absolutely.
Please.
Yeah. I'll share all these pictures in the clubhouse so people can see our stuff and some videos. I took some videos.
Wonderful.
I think that's it.
That's
But
Oregon in a nutshell, not a nutshell.
The best part was running with Carrie. The second best part was seeing Crystal. Those are like my 1-2 right there. Yes.
I know we had to go all the way to Oregon to see each other.
Isn't that funny? And then, by the way, we were both so busy at VidCon. I saw you in passing.
Twice, for the panel. Yeah.
Yep. We got to close it out on the main stage together.
Yes. And because I was like, where's Joe? I have not seen Joe yet. I was so sad.
And then there we are in front of
You just missed him.
Everybody together. Super fun. All right. Time for our big reveal, Crystal. You had the gear of the day. If you want to see all our gears of the day, it's stackingadventures.com/GOTD. But today, the hint again.
It keeps you nutritionally intact. Not intact, but whatever you want to call it.
It's a kind bar. It's a kind bar.
No. Is this the reveal?
Yes.
It's the reusable pouches. You could put whatever thing you want in these. So normally my airport snack is a chopped up apple, different kind of trail mix that I make myself. And even sometimes it's even been a turkey burger that are left over, or cheeseburger left over, or salmon, not smelly salmon, but it's like I throw food and like fruit in these because I have different sizes, different colors, because the airport snacks, they don't do it for me. And it's overpriced at the airport. So I love these reusable Ziplocs that I pack with love, because snacks are my love language, in case anyone didn't know. Food and snacks.
I could have used those on the way out of Oregon, because when we went to the grocery store, we bought way too much food. And I felt really bad about the amount of food we wasted. We wasted so much food. And we could have packed it and had it on the plane, but we didn't have anything. So we sadly let it all go.
Super flat. They fit right in your bag, and they're clean, sanitary. And then if you're really in a pinch, if something spilled in your bag, you're on your way back, you could just put it in this to contain it. But yeah,
I thought
reusable bags, snack bags.
I thought you took an empty one into the club, because you have your club membership. And
definitely. Yeah.
You just filled it full of stuff in the club.
My layover was in Dallas, so I did go to that airport because I had a mini layover. But Chicago didn't have one, so I was stuck there.
How was the club in Dallas?
It was good. Like, I had a couple mimosas because it was a super early flight, and I had food. They had food there too.
Nice. I can't do the mimosa in the morning with the flight.
I can.
Crystal's like, I'm drinking for 2 because Joe doesn't do it. Yeah. All right. Wonderful. We will add that then to our gear of the day. StackingAdventures.com/gear of the day. You'll help the show, and it's been tested by the one and only Crystal.
Yes, us. And also coming up, we've got some fun episodes coming up. One that I liked was at FinCon. I did the same thing as TravelCon. We were asking people for their travel tips. And Ally, they even gave out this really cool mini microphone. So I would shove it in people's faces and ask them questions. And unfortunately, about 10 times, microphone was not on.
Oh, no.
I was recording dead air for a few, but we still got
But you still got a bunch of them. I've seen how many you got. You got some great tips for money nerds.
I didn't finish uploading them either. So I have a lot more to upload. But we also want to hear coming up, because we have a lot of asks. We want to hear your story at stackingadventures.com/mystory, but we need stories from you guys. So we want, of course, Oregon. Don't we want France and Paris?
Yeah, John has agreed to tell us his France story. So that's coming up in a couple weeks, since we just talked about Paris. So if you've got Paris stories, how do people leave these stories for us, Crystal?
Yep. Head to our page, stackingadventures.com/mystory. You have up to 5 minutes too.
There it is. We'd love to hear those or other adventures that you've taken. And everybody's got a story, and they're fantastic to hear. I love hearing people's stories.
Me too.
All right. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
She's Crystal.
And I'm Joe. He's Joe.
Keep on adventuring, people.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for listening, lending us your ears.